Kiely is a Canadian writer, director, and filmmaker. And as you can see, I will be adding all his movies that are available on Amazon Prime. And I personally am a fan of his. I just saw one of your movies, who is KK Downey. You are great. Thank you.
What a crazy movie.
Your production company, Banner Productions, you are bi-coastal. You do work both in the US and back home in Montreal in Canada. That sounds, is it pretty challenging having to travel from one place to the other?
Yeah, currently with the state of the world, it's challenging. But I don't know. I mean, the life that I've built for myself is like, I don't know, like I'm single, I don't have kids, I don't really like own a house. So the movement and the travel is actually more like caffeinating and than it is a burden. Like I enjoy moving around a lot. It makes me feel more free.
Oh, that's great. So it fuels you.
It fuels me exactly. And I think so much of this industry as well is about like people that you know and people that you spend time with. And so I don't know, I found that the movement also opens doors because like you just meet a lot more people and your life doesn't get stagnant. So I suppose it's helped that way too.
So out of curiosity, how did you always had this dream of being a writer, filmmaker when you were a little kid? Or was this something that just like you started acting first and then you slowly got into it? Like, how did your journey being in the film industry start?
I mean, yes, at a young age, I definitely gravitated towards film and TV. Like I always just had a strong passion for the dramatic arts. I love theater. I loved like performing when I was a kid. So it all kind of, whatever, there was just a deep love there. Then when I went to film school, which is in Montreal, I got very lucky. So I ended up with this group of people that were, a few were above me, a few were my year, a couple were below me, that were just like this very talented group of people. They all wanted to write, direct, produce, act. So we started making shorts together in college. Those started going very well. I also feel like they were a lot ahead of me. Like there was a couple of them that are in the group that suddenly they asked me to come star in they asked me to come act, excuse me, in one of their short films. You don't really like star in college. I was just so impressed how they really had it all together. They knew what they were doing. And so that sort of galvanized me to like get my shit together a little bit at that age. Anyway, what progressed from that was that we formed this film collective group called Kidnapper Films in my early 20s. And so what we would do is we would do these shows where we would perform a comedy skit on stage live. Then we'd dim the lights and project a short that we had made together. And we were always taking turns producing, writing, directing. I'd be in front of the camera, then I was behind it. And so anyway, we did that for about 4 years. We traveled around Canada, the States, doing these weird kind of like punk rock film shows. And then with those guys, I made my first feature at 26, which was called Who is KK Downey?
Would you say being a writer and director is something that you love more than acting? It seems like it.
Yeah, I think I like directing the most, even more than the writing. Or it's like I love like directing. To me is very joyous. I really have a good time.
And do you have a certain genre that, because I've seen Three Nightstand, and I know your other movies like Summer Villa and Another Kind of Wedding, it seems like it's somewhat romantic comedy. Is that a certain genre that that you tend to gravitate towards, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like I mean, what I've been trying, I think not so much with the TV movies, but with my own independent films, is to try to like do a rom-com but with a little bend to bring sort of an anti-date quality to it, bring some gravity. Maybe there's not happy endings, maybe there's a bit more the messiness of life and the dramatic comedy elements come in. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, most of the stuff that I've done has been like dramatic comedies, rom-coms, anti-date movies.
I love it. Okay, so just from hearing you speak, I am getting from your journey being into creative arts, being in a filmmaker, what you mentioned first, it's like, it sounds like it's really important to surround yourself with the same energy that you're going for, with the
Right.
same people that are passionate about what you're passionate about, because they also motivate you to keep going, right? With like how you started.
Yeah, I mean, for me, so I made this short in college called Shark Boy. Okay, that was about it was about there's this legend. There's this old crazy legend that Led Zeppelin, after one of their shows, like, I don't know, there was a shark in the room, there was like women around, things got crazy in like a weird non-PG type way,
Uh,
right? So we made this short that was about, imagine there was a kid born from that night. So he was half shark, half boy. Anyway, it was a crazy weird comedy that was sort of like lampooning like old 80s like Teen Wolf type movies, and just like how fun it was being with my friends. There was like this sort of light bulb moment that I realized, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, there's nothing more fun than just being with people that you love, creating, joking around, filling all the different positions on a film set. And so that, more than anything for me, I just realized, I was like, this is where I want to be all the time.
when we're in alignment with what we're doing, we really feel it. And it's like we can't fake it, right? We feel it in our hearts. We know we're doing the right thing. And it's so funny because being a creative artist, I know that at times you feel that you're living this life that is non-traditional. Do you sometimes feel that?
Sure, all the time, every day.
You know, right? Because it seems like sometimes me just like sharing this, it seems like sometimes you have this grocery list of things that you need to do. Like you need to get married, have a family, have a home. And when you're a creative artist, you just have this need to keep creating so
Yeah.
that you just feel fulfilled, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely the thing that makes me happy, and as you said, fuels me. Like, sometimes I ask myself those questions. I'm like, shouldn't I have a house? Shouldn't I own something? And then
Yeah.
I don't know, there's other moments where I'm like, what am I going to do with a house? Like, what am I going to, like, then I'm going to like clean it and worry about like when there's a smell in a room, if we have mice, and like, it's just, I don't know, maybe one day I'll own a home, but it's just not of interest to me, you know? Like, what is of interest at the moment is movement, is shooting, is like creating. Uh, yeah, it's the driving force that I'm living by right now.
Exactly. And it's like, it's not as if, it's perfectly fine for anyone watching this if you are already in the chapter of your life that you want to settle down, you want to have a family. But I think what we're trying to say here is there has to be a point in life where we have to live our truth, or not even
Yeah,
a point. As much as possible, we just have to be true to ourselves as to what we really enjoy doing, right? May it
right.
be traveling, or if you're ready to have a family, being like good parents, because if we don't allow that to happen, it's somewhat, it doesn't feel right. Like our
Yeah.
life at this lifetime just doesn't feel right.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So if there's like one or two lessons that you've learned, I mean, it's been years, you've been years being a director, being in this industry, one or two lessons that you carry with you as
Mhm.
you keep going, what would that be if you'll be willing to share it with us?
Uh, I mean, one thing I've been thinking a lot of, I guess, about lately is just really being yourself when you're trying to create and you're working on stuff, like not trying to impress anybody or not being an asshole, because really people just want to work with people that they like,
Yeah.
you know? And whenever this last movie, like Daffing the movie, we were trying to figure out who's going to be on the crew. And like, I don't know, sometimes you will like hire people that maybe they're not even the best at what they do, but you're just like, I like this person. I want to be around them. I want to joke around with them on set. It's a very like intimate job, right? You're on set for 12 hours. You're spending all this time together. And so I think just being, as you said, a truthful, genuine, kind person that loves what you do and like has a good time on set and is not a dick, is really like a key, something that is key in this industry.
Like with you personally, let's say, when things aren't going how you want them to be. I mean, as a director, there's so many challenges that you face.
Yeah.
Let's say when things aren't going as you planned, how do you deal with that? How do you handle that?
Yeah. I do a lot of yoga. I'm not on set to try to chill, to try to like just breathe.
Mhm.
Because yeah, you don't want to be one of those directors that like loses their temper a lot, or I mean, I try to stay calm. Um, but I guess there's a balance that I think about a lot, about like when I'm supposed to be strict, when I'm not being strict enough, and like what the results are between those, that pendulum that is swinging back and forth. Like I don't know. Sometimes I can have a day on set where I'm like, oh, everybody loved me today. What a great day. That was so fun. And then maybe the dailies will like not always be the best product because I wasn't like, sometimes filmmaking is also a fight and it's a grind and you have to push and you have to be strict, especially when you don't have enough time in order to get the product that you want. And so, but then sometimes you're too strict and that will result in like a rigid product or like takes or scenes that don't feel loose and fun enough. So
Mhm.
it's really a balance, and I'm still navigating my way through all of that.
Okay, so it has a lot to do with finding the balance, right, between
Yeah.
the workday, and it sounds like it's just really figuring out what works for us best coping with our stress. And for you, it's yoga. And if it's just a matter of like breathing, no, I completely agree with that, because when I'm upset, I just need to like tell myself, like, Crystal, you just need to breathe at least like,
Right.
10 seconds, just count till 1 to 10, because it just gets really stressful, right?
It's stressful, and there's this last shoot that I just did was really long days. So we'd have days that were, I don't know, sometimes 13, 14 hours. And
Hmm.
it's like you live 5 days within that one day of shooting. The day can start out, everything's relaxed. You're like, oh my God, this is so chill. Like I'm having my second coffee, we're not in a rush, everything's going great. Then like something else will happen. And then some like bad news comes, like a set doesn't work out, or like the lighting was wrong. Then people are calling from LA watching the footage saying like, this isn't working. And then it's hour 12 and you lose your shit and you lose it. And
Yeah.
you're like, wow, earlier this morning I was doing great and now I'm a fucking basket case. And I mean, it happens. Like you never know what a day is going to bring.
But that's part of it. That's part of the beauty of the whole thing of creating. You're not going to have perfect days all the time.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's part of the journey. No, of course not.
They're never perfect. They're never perfect.
This is really great. But I think that's wonderful. I think that's one lesson that we can take from this one. It's being able to embrace the imperfection that goes with it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because you can't. I remember this saying, like, you can't let the idea of perfection paralyze you,
Mhm.
because all those other things, like the imperfection that comes, the challenges and struggles with it, is part of the whole thing. It's part of the creative process, right?
Absolutely.
With this whole current events, were you feeling down at first when it happened?
Yeah, I did not. I have not been having the greatest coronavirus. Like I'm a pretty sensitive person. I had a movie get canceled because of the
Oh,
coronavirus. I was like stuck in Canada alone in an apartment. It was dark.
yeah,
It was dark for sure.
sorry.
The world is so sad. I was reading the news too much. I couldn't concentrate. Like I couldn't really create and write in the real thick of it, like through the spring. I was like magnetized to my phone, like always checking the news, checking social media. So it was like kind of dark for me. I shook it off and now I've
Mhm.
adapted. I'm doing a lot better. In terms of stories and productivity, I don't know if that's what you're leaning towards, but like, should we be telling stories about COVID or not? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Are you like inspired by some sort of stories? I mean, there's always stories.
No, is that I had this rom-com series that was about a long distance relationship that
Okay.
was in development for a while. COVID hit and I was pitched to the production company. I'm like, hey, why don't we change this inside the world of COVID? So this long distance relationship becomes characterized now. They can't see each other because of COVID. They're stuck in different countries.
Yeah.
We tried to pitch it. We pitched it to all the networks in Canada and didn't sell it because the general feeling was just like, people don't really want to watch stuff about COVID. We don't know how this is all going to shake out. It's kind of depressing, whatever. So then I pivoted away from that and I'm kind of like, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be writing about COVID. Like maybe people actually don't want to watch it. I don't know. I think there'll be some great COVID shows and there'll be COVID fatigue where people just like don't care and don't want to watch it. I think it's going to be both.
I mean, we understand COVID it's been a very challenging time for all of us, all over the world. So, but I think it's important to see what some sort of lesson we can learn from it, or at least what we can figure out about ourselves during this downtime, right? We can always figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the
Yeah.
world has to change. If there was something wrong before, and if you look at it in the way of like the way the world changed after World War II, the way Europe came together, like hopefully that's going to happen on a global scale. Like there's a before and an after COVID in this world. And so the hope is maybe that there's some realizations about all whatever we were doing wrong and that there can be a new regime and a new sort of like global love and energy and perspective that can follow it.
Of course. That's always good. That's always a good thing. I mean, we have to evolve into better beings. So, Pat, thank you for all of this. Thank you for sharing a whole lot of information about your journey and truly appreciate this. It's a beautiful story.
Thank
So,
you.
as we close this up, as we wrap this up, um, for anyone watching us from the Philippines or wherever they may be, there's a student out there that is interested in film, who's probably a freshman in college, who wants to be a director someday. There's somebody out there, so many of us, that is in the creative arts field. May they be writers, directors, or actors.
Right.
What is, I mean, what do you think is something that they have like some sort of like tip or advice for them? Because this is a crazy industry, and I think personally for me it takes so much persevering, or at
Yeah.
least just find a way to keep creating, at least to express that energy of what you love. What do you think?
Yeah, I think my advice, my advice today would be to focus on the process and not the result. That I think that's something that we forget, is that it's about making the thing, about writing it, about being part of it. It's not about if it wins film in your grade, or if like your teachers say that you're like the next big thing. That's not what it's about. It's about just like doing it, finding people that you love to do it, tell the stories you want to tell, express things that like are cathartic for you, that make you feel better to do it. It should be about the love of the dramatic arts, of just like you just want to do this play or make this movie or do this short, and then after you finish it, like forget about it and just do another one. That's what is the most important thing for me, and it's the thing that's the most important for my mental health too, is like I try to make movies, and then the second like my job is done with the movie, I really try to forget about it, because it's like that my relationship with it is over. It's not about like people tweeting at me or like me getting nominated for awards or whatever. It's just about the creation, and I think that's the most important thing that we need to remember when we want to do this stuff.
That is terrific. So pretty much keep creating whatever it
Yeah.
is that you have the heart to keep doing. If you're a director, don't think about all the praises, right? Focusing so much on the final, on the end result. Just enjoy the journey and just keep creating. Make sure you keep expressing that creative energy that you have.
Yeah, because it's really it's just a muscle. It's like anything. It's like going to the gym and working out your biceps. It's this, as you know, Crystal, it's the same thing with acting. It's just a
Yeah,
muscle. You just have to do it all the time. And like sometimes it's not going to go well. And some games you're going to lose. You're going to make a bad movie. I've made bad movies. It's like, doesn't, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like it's just about doing it.
that's
Just keep
true.
doing it.
That's true. It's like don't let criticism stop you. Just keep
Yeah.
creating, right?
Yeah.
Aw.
Exactly.
Thank you. So you guys, thank you. This is our second episode of The Noisy List, and I am so thankful for having Pat Kiely. Hey, you guys, thank you so much. Subscribe to our channel, The Noisy List, and I will see you guys next time in the next episode. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Crystal.
Bye.